Greetings and salutations, gamers. Welcome to Cast Co-op, the podcast in which three podcast hosts cast together. I am one of your co-hosts, Luke Lore, the insipid ghost and host of the Xbox Expansion Pass, joined by my big brother and yours, the man who runs Seasoned Gaming's Bitcast and, of course, co-hosts the second most popular show here on Seasoned Gaming, and that's this one. Mr. Ainsley Bowden, how are you, sir?
You fumbled that intro better than I could, and I fumble intros all the time, so I'm proud of you.
I got distracted because I got a message pinging on the other side of the screen, and it's just like blink, blink, and I'm like, go away.
I'm good, man. How you guys doing? I'm excited to talk about more FTC bullshit, but we'll get through that, and then we'll talk about some good stuff. So,
well, they said it couldn't be done, and they might have been right. we had a good 6 hours where we were.
By the way, I think I just cursed in the intro, which YouTube specifically tells you not to do. So we're off to a good start already.
Well, YouTube and Elon, they give good directions. That's what I'm saying. So, well, we are, of course, joined by the host of The Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast. He's lighter. He's tanner. He's doing big things, and I'm pretty darn proud of him.
He's bringing some culture to the show. Some culture.
That's right.
Culture.
That's right. Santana. Enrique Iglesias. I'm here. Hi, what's up?
I like that Santana guy.
That's right. He's good at the guitar. What's up, man? What's going on? I'm happy to be here.
That's good to see. Great. You're having a good week, bud. You got a new watch. You're down on the scales. You're crushing the exercise, and Lena Khan apparently loves you. I don't know, something like that. That's what the internet.
Apparently, honestly, while you're doing the intro, I read a comment so stupid my IQ dropped from the latest episode we did, of which I knew we would get comments like that. I can't wait. So this whole situation, I get it. It's really fascinating. It's super interesting. But I think we're taking the wrong things. No, I don't think we're taking the wrong things out of this.
Yeah.
And it's just bizarre. I think to see people's reactions to it all, it's sad that it's just so not surprising anymore. But other than that,
you say wrong things, but didn't we confirm that PlayStation is dead? I know we've been talking about it for a while.
Yeah,
but
true. Yeah. Well, apparently some people were upset that I had Xbox, folks on the trophy room last night or this week's episode. They want to, they don't want to hear about Xbox stuff. They want to hear about PlayStation stuff. And gotcha. I'm like, well, I think this deal has implications for PlayStation just a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to hear their perspective, because how many, every other PlayStation podcast or PlayStation creator, whether it's on Twitter or whatever have you, it seems like there's very few of us out here that are sane folk. And it's just, it's like we're all pretending to be lawyers. It's wild. So I love the guests that we had on this week's Trophy Room. I'm really excited to chat it up with y'all today, because I still have a lot of, I don't know, ideas rolling around in this old dome of mine. I need to get out.
Well, there was something fun because Joe was on XEP, Ains. I was that far down on the rung list.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
It was rough.
It was really rough.
But we were talking about, this was prior to the deal going through. And it was like, how do you feel if? And it's like, as content creators, we're going to talk about it from that perspective. But we don't have a personal vested interest.
Nope.
Other than covering it. I don't live or die by this, and not for nothing, neither do the companies. We literally said that. And so to see the deal get struck down by the judge, and then we're appealing, and it was just this cycle again. It's it's still yay. I was glad that it was done, just so we could move into new conversations, because ABK is going to come up for the next 2 years, no matter which way it goes. Every time you talk about Call of Duty, every time you talk about something that Activision is doing, whatever new marketing deal takes place, this is going to come up one way or the other. Yeah. I thought we were able to have a new conversation, though, but we're still, or at least for another week, we're still on the same one.
Well, I think what we said on the trophy room last night, I'm like, this is the end of the conversation. It's over. I mean, by Monday it's done. I I don't see any way on this beautiful planet of ours that we get something other than a confirmation that Activision's a part of Microsoft now. It's over.
Yeah, I think,
and people are still living in La La Land. Some people are still living in La La Land about it. So like, I know from I'll mention it in future shows, but like, I'm glad that it's over now.
Yeah, I'm ready to move forward. I'm right there with you guys. By the way, Midnight Jury, thank you, Legend, as always gifting memberships over here during our shows. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I think it's over. Obviously, as I've talked to Hogue an awful lot about this, I've talked to others about it, and it's always like, you never know. There's no guarantees of anything, but logistically speaking, it feels like we should be at least trying to take that next step. And the funny thing is, I know you guys are in the same camp, and I'm sure our audience is too, for the most part here, because we have an awesome audience here. What's up, everyone? But I think that the interesting part about the Activision Blizzard acquisition is not the deal itself, but the possibilities for what this means for the companies in various ways, from developers to studios to technology to IPs to all the different facets of what it means for Xbox first party to include Activision Blizzard development studios and IPs and the 10,000 developers or 10,000 employees that come along with that. I think that's far more interesting to talk about those scenarios than the deal itself. Let's get past the damn deal so we can just start talking about all the other things that we'd like to see, things that we think are going to happen, even if we may not like them, all the other things that could come of this. I think that's just more fun. I'm tired of talking about, no offense, Hogue, if you're listening, I'm tired of talking about the legal aspects of this. I just don't care.
No,
I just don't care. I just, I want to talk about games. That's why I do this. I like talking about gaming, and I want to know what this means for gaming. So that's where I'm at.
Nothing good, because now Xbox is going to buy the whole industry.
You know what I want to see. What I'm most he shut me down too. Dang it. I'm really curious how marketing.
Prove me wrong, guys. Prove me wrong.
I'm really curious how marketing changes for Call of Duty, but also everything else. Like, is there a reality where come July of next year, a year from now, Crash Bandicoot or Spyro or COD is on the box of an Xbox? Like, you go to the store to buy an Xbox and Spyro's on the box. Is there a reality where that happens? Because I think, to me, that is a very enticing way to move units, as well as in the store, the mom and dad, the whoever walks up and they see recognizable characters. I'm curious to know how the marketing shifts or changes based on that kind of stuff. I think that to me, that's an interesting metric to watch, especially given the disparity between sales numbers of Series S and X at 21 million and PlayStation 5 at 39 million. It's a pretty big disparity. It's 2-1. And still they're doing well. Like, I know Joe and I disagree on the idea of it doing well, but I mean, the industry is doing well. Will that change anything?
I think it's better said that it's not that Xbox is doing bad. It's that PlayStation's just doing that well. PlayStation 5 is just blowing things away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think, by the way, shout out to the Anthem Steelbook behind you. I have that one too. Always got a shot at Anthem.
Thank you. That's right. That was up for you, actually. I didn't know if you noticed.
I didn't notice at all. Oh, hot damn. Look at that. Hi.
Yep.
Anthem, man.
So one thing that's interesting. So Joe, what's up, Joe? Good to see you. He says, nothing will change. Look at Bethesda. And I would counter that slightly a little bit, because I was literally, and this is not a Ains was there thing, but when we were literally listening to Todd Howard speak last month in person,
Ains was there, guys.
He told everyone in that room that Starfield would be a different, not as good game if it weren't for Xbox. That the expectations around Bethesda internally delivering that game 2 years ago and the scope of that game would not be what is getting delivered this September if it weren't for the Xbox and Bethesda deal. Now, you could say he's blowing smoke. You could say whatever you want about it. But we've seen that in other cases. We know that Psychonauts 2 would not have been the same game without being part of Xbox. Tim Schafer's talked very candidly about that. There's a documentary about it. We know in the interview, shout out, I'm working on it, Luke. I'm working on it. Luke just put up an interview with the Average Space 2 devs, literally telling him that the game would not be the same without the Game Pass deal. So I do think there are downstream effects that we may not see out in front, right? We may not see when the game gets delivered on the box or the gameplay or what have you. But I've talked to developers. We've talked to people that are in making these games in the studios, in the production houses, and they have expressly said it makes a difference. So I think that's what interests me more about the deal is what this would mean. I don't think we're going to see a massive change to Call of Duty. It's a freaking money machine, right? They're not going to disrupt Call of Duty delivery. I'm not saying that, or Diablo, or World of Warcraft, or any of those things. But I'm more interested in the behind the scenes things of like just the nuances, right? What can 343 and Coalition and some of the first party studios that work on shooters learn from one another, right? What technologies can they share? What gameplay scenarios, or even, it sounds bad, but even like monetization methods of content delivery can they share across games? And I just think there's a lot to be interested in there. That's what fascinates me personally with these types of deals.
Yeah. It's
sorry, that was like kind of all over the place, but I think
no. I mean, I'm right there with you. Luke and I were having this conversation earlier too of like, to me, the interesting thing is when Xbox, kind of like pops the trunk and really like takes a look at everything, right? Pops the cover and sees like how this engine's actually assembled in terms of like, like how does Call of Duty work? Like, to me, it's not simply, when people are like, oh, we get the free, studio X, Y, and Z from Call of Duty. I'm like, not that simple. I don't think. One would assume it's like that team's already, knowing or at least has some wherewithal about them when it comes to making Call of Duty or whatever section that they're working on. So it's not as easy going, hey guys, now you're working on Crash, because now all of a sudden a new team has to learn all the quirks from like a Toys for Bob or Vicarious, right? So like, to me, it's the surgery that Microsoft will have to do, or even if they do, after acquiring Activision, because there's really no guarantees. It's all the things we'd like Vicarious to come back. We would love Toys for Bob to be making a Spyro game, but like those aren't really guarantees. Those are just things we'd like.
I wouldn't even say it's highly possible in the first few years that you'll see any shift like that at all. I think it's going to take a lot of time to integrate these companies together and at least figure out, like I said, how they're going to work with one another. It's a huge undertaking. And quite frankly, this always sounds more critical than I mean it, but it is critical to a degree. And we've talked about this on Bigcast a lot. I know we've talked about the same thing, which is Xbox up until recently. I think we're all very pleased after last month and the roadmap and everything we've seen, but we've been very critical of Xbox and handling first party delivery inconsistently with their studios, with mismanagement of the initiative we've heard about, right, and Fallout, and missing delivery dates, and a lot of things. Redfall is another example.
At one point prior to the trials, like the notes and things we learned from the trial lanes, I was beginning to wonder, I was like, does Matt Booty, is he right for this job? Because I love Matt Booty, right? He's a
nice
cool
guy.
dude. Seems like, it seems like a gamer's gamer, like he's a cool dude. But like, you see how Halo rolled out, you saw the troubles that took place in the Xbox One era, the struggles to get first party content. You're like, okay, where's the problem? Is this the problem? And hindsight being what it is, and thanks to the documents from the trial, we find out no, Matt Booty's genuinely been fighting to fix stuff. But what task does he have laid before him to streamline Activision content, free up studios to make what they want to make, the way that Xbox seems to be doing, like Clockwork Revolution? Who would have thought of that? Somebody wanted to create that. Somebody wants to create
Fargo's baby.
Right. Like to make these things happen, like Pentiment is a result of them saying, make what you want to make. So what does that look like with Activision? If that takes place, that will take, you say, several years. I'm thinking 3 to 4 before we start to see the dividends, because how long has it taken for us to get Bethesda, Obsidian, In Exile products? Would they get them in 17 and 20?
I mean, Compulsion hasn't delivered a game yet since it being acquired. Ninja Theory delivered Bleeding Edge. We know how that happened. Hellblade 2 is coming. I mean, it looks incredible, but so we'll see. But I mean, there's so many different things that have to happen with an organizational shift of this size, this magnitude. And it's just going to be interesting. That's the stuff I keep saying it, but that's the stuff I love. It's just kind of hearing the inner workings of that stuff. Lucy has just said it as you did, Luke, which is, we got to see some of the internal stuff from this court case. And that we talked about that a few weeks ago, which was pretty cool. But yeah, I think that we also have to remember, and we've seen this, it affected Halo. It's affected other games, is that at the end of the day, Xbox is part of Microsoft. And while Phil Spencer has an awful lot of money to throw around and an awful lot of seeming on the outside, right, of goodwill with Satya, they still report to Microsoft. And Microsoft's rules around contractors can only be there for 18 months and hiring freezes and all those. I've literally talked to people in Xbox saying that they couldn't do anything about this, right? Their hands are tied. They cannot hire for this position, or this person had hit their 18-month limit. They had to go. There's no two ways about it. And that, that affects things as well. So there's a lot of business aspects to it that I think get overlooked in the Twitter sphere, but then a lot of things get overlooked in the Twitter sphere. So
do you think the lessons are learned from Halo, from contract workers, from studio setups, from Bethesda launching Redfall? Like, do you think the lessons are learned?
The weird thing is my mind goes, you want to say yes,
but no, right?
We've asked that question before, right? Like we've asked that question 2 years ago and 3 years ago and 4 years ago. And it's like, are they learned this time? I don't know.
No,
we'll see.
No. I think that's the only thing that really worries me about this. Yeah. Like the contractor, I like how you, sorry, go for it.
Sorry, Joe. Don't mean to interrupt you. Fishstring in the chat just said FTC update. The appeal was just denied by Judge Corley. It is off to the Ninth Circuit Court. Yeah, the Ninth Circuit Court has, I don't know a whole lot about it. I'm not an expert here, but has oversight of cases that would then, this is kind of like the escalation, right? So if the Ninth Circuit Court denies it, I think it is expected. Yes,
it is expected.
Thank you.
And they're wanting the Ninth Circuit to intervene. Not a
lot of fact-based evidence to intervene. Like when I was not a lawyer, I actually don't want to accidentally go down this road, but I will say it's interesting to hear people discuss, what's a fact and what is not, what is precedent, what is not, what is set in motion. And the armchair analysis by so many people, including us, but like hopefully done with humility. Like it's like if I watch a professional soccer game, like I watch the national team play, I'm like, he shouldn't have done that. That doesn't mean I could do better or know better. Yeah. It's like the hindsight, I can see, he missed that shot. So it's that's
well, I think we do a good job of qualifying our comments. I think where people get into trouble, or where we see people get into trouble and take it too far, is when they make definitive statements from their point of view, when very clearly they don't have any expertise in the matter, right? I mean,
and for listeners, this is important. You guys know, Ains hasn't been to the Capitol since January 6th. So, I mean, it's been a while since he's even been in a government building.
Or allowed to be.
It's just looking.
He was just sightseeing, god damn it.
I was invited. It was a tour. I was told it was a tour.
I think that's what we see in a lot of people like kind of fall under. It's a bummer to see people you generally kind of like, look up to and go like, they're a good egg, fall into this weird, I don't know, rabbit hole. It's a trap.
It's inviting to do so. You know what I mean? Because everybody has an opinion, and because we have platforms that give us ways to express those opinions, and then we only follow those that we choose to follow, we get roped into these kind of like rabbit holes of just cyclical logic, and either people engage in combat with people from the other side, or they surround themselves with only opinions that they like. And that's how it happens. It's a trap. And
I see a lot of opinions that I don't or that I disagree with on a daily basis, especially like around this case, right? Like, because like I'm the only one in the group of us that I'm like not a fan that this is happening, but I can, I could see the logic and whatnot, and like though I don't like it, doesn't mean it's gonna, my disapproval is gonna stop them. It's like, it's whatever. It's like, what can I do? And my feeling is just like, it's whatever. Could have been worse, I guess. It could have picked a better publisher for me. Like, it could have been a Capcom. But like, I've just seen just so many people, I don't know, just bust out their law degrees online, and it's just so infuriating. And so like, I talked about this a bit on the trophy room, which one person again vehemently didn't like that I brought Xbox people on, where it was just like, oh god, see, look at my memory's fading, and I totally forgot now. Remind me what I was literally just saying, Luke.
Just the rabbit hole that tends to happen.
The rabbit hole that tends to happen, and me bringing on like Xbox folks, just to get the different perspective, because I feel like we oftentimes get too much in our camps where I want to introduce my audience to other ideas and views. Like, I want to introduce people to go, hey, this is what like these two people feel, and they're not wacky or crazy, and we're going to disagree with each other, but we're going to show you how to do it respectfully type of deal. I just don't like the armchair. It's not even like, it's like the armchair cheerleaders at this point. And it's just really weird to me. So I think what we're really tired with is not the conversation, because there's conversations that we can have that are interesting. Like, how does Microsoft dissect Activision and see what they can actually do with it, right? But I think we're tired of the social media conversations, the ones that are really simple to have, the ones that are like hurrah hurrah, or like this is doomsday for PlayStation type of stuff. That's what I think the conversations we're truly tired of.
Do you think, guys, because a new social platform launched in Threads, and because Twitter is circling a drain, that maybe the effect that the communities are having is magnified by that, because we're having to say it in two places, see it in two places, or two more, an extra place, or is that just kind of a tangential relationship? It just happened to happen.
No, I think it just happened to happen, to be honest. I think this is where social media has kind of been going down as of the last few years. And I think, like, just the social media person inside of me, we're seeing more and more folks looking at social media going, how could I like minimize this? But like see the things I want to see, but also like get away from the really negative shit that I constantly get on my feed. That's why like people really like Instagram, because Instagram is built off this like positive, like, atmosphere. It's not about like doom or gloom. It's like, hey, look at what I'm doing type of stuff that people are really into. I think it's just the nature that social media, the rabbit hole that we've gone through the last, I think like really 2019 into 2020. I think COVID accelerated it, to be honest, but I don't think it's because there's more social media things. I just think if anything, Luke, since Twitter is getting smaller and smaller because more people are leaving, you're seeing the negative voices be amplified, because it's kind of like an empty room. Their voices are just echoing all over the place.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Fitstring has a good comment here. I'd be curious who leaves ABK and starts their own studio after some of the big execs and leaders get their payday. And we've seen that at other companies too. And I think you will definitely see that. I mean, even on the much smaller scale, like after Cyberpunk shipped for CD Projekt Red, if you're paying attention over there, there's been 3 studios that have been set up by ex-CD Projekt Red people who ship Cyberpunk. So that happens quite a lot in the gaming industry, and with a deal this size where people are going to make some serious money, you'll see some things for sure. It'll be cool to see.
It's a great question, and it's a great consideration to keep in mind, because Microsoft is hoping to keep some of this talent, but they're absolutely going to shed people for redundancies, right? They're going to streamline. Microsoft proper has already been shedding people, and Activision is my math might be wrong here, but I believe when they initiated the deal was around 10,000 employees. Now it's 17. So there's going to be some eliminated redundancies here and there, and then people are going to be unhappy. They're not going to want to move or transition to a different project or whatnot as these things take place. And I love when they go activate their own studios, because it means they're going to make what they want to make. And passion projects oftentimes work out really well. I think the only one in recent memory that I know of that kind of bombed was a game called Disintegration from Marcus Lato.
Yeah, which was a shame.
It was a shame.
Marcus Lato is a great guy.
He was real cool. I think that was a bummer, but the majority of the time when you see passion projects, you get something good out of it. And
just to further your point, Immortals of Avium, which comes out in 2 weeks,
yes,
is a passion project from a ex-developer, major developer who started his own studio for that reason.
I'm excited for that. That's Brett Robbins, somebody who
looks really cool.
I really want to interview Brett Robbins. Like I'm excited for Immortals of Avium, big time.
Nice.
But I will say, I lost my point here. Oh, if people do go and leave, that's not doom and gloom. The amount of IP, the amount of networking in the mobile space that Xbox will inherit is still a worthwhile endeavor. You could argue numbers, 69, 45 billion, but whatever. That's not the point. The point is they will have done a deal, and this company will now have inroads into markets they didn't otherwise have.
Yeah. And I think if you're Activision employees, for the most part, you're pretty happy, because hopefully Microsoft comes in and they start to reverse all the shitty policies that Activision did have when it comes to stuff like working from home and, like remote work. So, there are things to cheer about, like Bobby Kotick being, getting that golden parachute, though it's not the greatest, thing ever.
I don't know if it's accurate, but I saw one thing saying he's due to make $400 million.
Yeah, that sucks.
It's like Bob Iger getting that contract extension for Disney and then saying these people that make less than minimum wage should work harder.
They're being unrealistic. Dude, you make $75,000 a day. I think that's unrealistic. What are you saving up for, dude? The ticket to heaven that you're not going to be getting? Like, Jesus.
It's wild.
Boy. I know.
Do you think let's not, I don't want to stay on ABK too long, but I will say Phil Spencer's choice of wearing the Hexen shirt at the showcases, obviously strategic. Do you think there's anything there, or was that just
it'd be cool.
I think that's Phil being an old school gamer and just throwing a shout out to a game he loved growing up. I played Hexen when it came out. Great game, fun, but
a
do you really think they're going to shift resources to start working on a Hexen reboot? I don't think so.
No, maybe not shift resources, but open the idea, get people excited about, test interest
the
levels.
Boss wants this. Dude, I don't know what Hexen is. I'm going to be real with y'all. I don't know what
Hexen's old, man. Hexen goes back.
Exactly.
You've seen Immortals of Avium? It's like that, but 30 years ago.
But when I was 2 years old.
It's Magic Doom. It's like Doom, but it's magic. Instead.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I was like 2 years old.
Yeah. You were definitely very young.
I'm a little baby.
Yeah.
Look at me. Yeah.
No, but I don't know. No, I didn't really have any further point. I was just continuing the conversation.
Oh, can I just say, why is everybody yelling at Lena Khan? She's just doing her job. All right. She's just doing her job, and everybody's hooting and hollering at this poor lady,
Are you quoting Kotaku here? Because they're not my favorite people right now. After what they did.
Oh, you know what? Let's switch to that real fast. Sidebar. Why are Kotaku not your favorite people right now, Luke?
Okay. Well, I wasn't here to dunk on Kotaku. However,
I will.
Come on.
Kotaku sucks.
Okay,
I'll say it. They suck.
So they put out a call for hey, who enjoyed Redfall or who had fun with it or whatnot. And I and several people in my community found fun in Redfall. That's not mean I'm dying on a hill saying that it's God's gift. It certainly doesn't meet expectations none of that. But did I have fun playing this game that I played on Game Pass? Yes, I did. And I gave them quotes as such. And so did a member of the XCP community named Ellery. They are awesome. We both wrote quotes up and comments for this author who pitched it one way, and then the headline is meet the fans playing Xbox's worst exclusive of the year. and then they just proceeded to dump on us. I'm just like, what the heck? So I didn't tweet that link out, or I don't want to give them a click for it. I'd much rather people look at the.
I did. I gave them 5 clicks.
But
like, keep it coming.
I'm out here specifically like trying to do good work, interviewing people, having great guests on, trying to be this beacon of like positivity. And just this guy he's like, well, we need something. All right.
I need to now I gotta see who.
The best part is they made money.
Do you know the author of that?
I do know the author, but I'm not going to give his name a shout out. I'll look it up for you, but I'm not giving him any publicity. But
I'm real bad.
He's bad. I didn't know. Really? I should have done my due diligence. Part of that's on me, but like, yeah, here he is. I got his name. I was just so disappointed in the lack of integrity.
Sure.
I've ranted. You guys know I've ranted about that a lot with some of these outlets, but it reminded me, if you guys forgot, when remember when I had the Last of Us Firefly Edition debacle and my post went viral of the damage, and
yes,
I wrote an article and all that, and VGC just took my picture and reported on it, like literally my picture from my house. And then the guy who works for VGC like called me out and started attacking me because I said they used my picture. I'm like, you guys have some balls, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
I remember that.
Yep.
I remember.
Weird.
Yeah. Yeah. There's one thing we got to also understand. A lot of like, the games journalists or I really just try to say games media because like journalists is stretching the word a lot. It's, to me, it's like if you follow someone, I don't know, if you follow a reporter like on CNN or like whatever, they're going to act a lot more or a lot differently than you're going to see like a reporter of X, Y, and Z, like an Ethan Gotch over at Kotaku, right? Mm-hmm. Like I mean, you're seeing a lot of them cheerlead for sides right now. It's like, you guys are not supposed to be cheering for sides.
Yep.
You guys are supposed to actually be reporting information. That's it. You shouldn't be rooting. Your job is to report the freaking news. It's not to make a stand on something. But in this industry, the thing is, making content is so hard that you do. I think we talked about this several episodes back. You have to be a personality too, right?
Yeah.
You're writing a good article. Yeah, writing a good article is just simply not enough. You need to have that following that's going to give you those reliable clicks. And if you can't do that, you got to pull an Ethan Gotch and make a hit piece. Like that's all you got to do.
I was seriously through DMs talking to Jez about some aspects of what we're talking about here yesterday and today, actually. I was just talking to him about what he does, Xbox community and with Windows Central and stuff, but kind of some of the same topics is like, it's he's talked before because, Windows Central and his following has grown a lot, but he's talked before around like just the way it is right now, just doing reviews, doing articles and stuff. If you're doing this for money, right, this is a living for you. It doesn't cut it. And that's, I think, why we're seeing so many of the gaming media outlets just shed people over the past couple of years, because it has become personality driven, and streamers and YouTubers and people who are just willing to develop an audience based on a personality or a persona, if you will. And that's, I think that's a shame. But it is a fact, regardless of how you look at it. And so seeing, to your point, Joe, I think the reason I bring that up is seeing some of the big sites or sites that generate a lot of traffic kind of go down that road because they know they have to, is both disappointing and, I don't know, frustrating,
it's just
I guess.
The state of things. Yeah. And it's just like people, folks keep falling for it. And that's the really depressing thing too. It's like, I've curated my social media a lot so that I avoid a lot of it. But even then I still see tricklings of this weird, toxic, just all of it. And so like, to me, you're right. There is a beauty in like what Season Gaming does, what the Trophy Room does, what XCP does, where it's like, we all have like separate jobs away from this industry. So we don't have to go out there and write a hit piece about PlayStation or write a hit piece about Xbox or write a hit piece about this game that didn't perform well, but still somehow does well on SEO. Like we don't have to do that. We have the opportunity to give our audience something that maybe is a little bit more, I hate to say refined, but like maybe more, you know, I guess like pulled back a bit from it. Like we don't have to have the bite that these other folks do. We could just kind of we could kind of exist.
Because they're not even conversations to me. Like I like having conversations about the gaming industry and games, and pieces like that. They're not conversations. They're just they're fluff.
You have to think you get what you pay for, and I mean that sincerely. Like your dollars, it used to be that you would pay for news. The advent of social media gave everyone a voice. Changed to suddenly you needed ad revenue, which meant engagement, impressions, click-through rates, scroll down rates. And think about how many enthusiasts, how many journalists, how many enthusiast journalists, that kind of hybrid that sometimes people walk, including me, at points, have systems set up to where they can be financially compensated compared to a site where they will write a hit piece like Kotaku. They wrote that hit piece and they're generating revenue off of that. Then you think about, and I won't use us three because we all have revenue sources where people can fund us if they want to support us.
Patreon.com/AppyShowroom.
But think about like NoClip. NoClip had a Patreon. NoClip does incredible professional, high quality work.
Awesome work.
They need funding to do that, to have, that is important. There are some high profile news personality outlets like Skill Up or oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm blank. ACG. Like they need funding to function. You know what I mean? And to be at the level they are at and produce content. Again, you're right, Joe. We are fortunate we have outside jobs that kind of offset us. But even in our case, like we asked for tips in the tip jar kind of thing. The livelihood of some real journalists, of people that are doing reporting, people that are finding information. Rebecca Valentine at IGN, her job depends on engagement at a site that runs ads, needs impressions, click through, scroll through. And Rebecca Valentine is bar none one of the best reporters in our industry. But her job depends on that funding as well. And so it's important that as consumers, as audience members of whatever content you're consuming, you do get what you pay for. Yeah, but you're paying one way or the other in one fashion or another, whether it's a Patreon, whether it's an ad, whether it's an engagement. And the easiest way to ignore those voices is to not give them oxygen, right?
It's kind of, I like what Fifth Street kind of, it's like a statement and a question. No clue how you guys do that either. Having channels and sites on top of traditional jobs.
Well, Ains has interns.
He has a fleet. He's
sweatshop
described them as yeah. Right. He actually just calls them bodies. I'm like, is that a little harsh? She's like, what do you mean? Like, oh, I'm sorry, meat bags. I'm like, whoa, really? All right, jeez. But like, I mean, that's
if it's gonna work next time. We need more numbers doing the calls.
We need more meat for the grinders, ladies and gents. But it's like then you get hit with burnout. So like that's what I've been feeling lately. That's why like Kyle and I for these next 2 weeks, like Kyle took the week off, and then now next week I'm gonna take the week off, which that's gonna give me anxiety because I'm kind of like if you've ever seen the episode of Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Charlie's mom turns off and on the lights. She flickers the lights on 3 times in each room. And when asked why, she's like, Sir Charlie doesn't die. It's like, that's how I'm feeling. But like, it's because we need that time off to kind of recharge the creative juices, man. It gets a lot. Like, listen, I just read a comment that annoyed me right before, as Luke was introing Ains in. And I'm like, that's and you get a lot of those. But it's the trouble that we're finding with this whole situation that's probably highlighted it. And then I'll tie this all up with a bow, and please bear with me as I've had 4 hours of sleep the past 4 days. Is the simple fact that with this issue, it's kind of highlighted the problem with game coverage, which is everybody in one way, shape, or form it relies on, if it bleeds, it leads type coverage, the cheerleading-esque coverage to kind of keep the lights on, right? So like if I am a news site, let's just we'll throw Kotaku under the bus because literally nobody likes them. So Kotaku will choose a side because they know that there's an audience that actually agrees with that side, or maybe they're seeing so much of the pro Activision deal that they're like, maybe there's something here for the anti deal, right? And then you have other people on the other end, right? The creators who have their niches, whether you're an Xbox show or a PlayStation show, and you're running with whatever side you're on, whether it's green or blue, and you're finding people that are going to gravitate to that work because they also are on either team green or team blue, right? So it's really highlighted an issue with games coverage that is, it sucks that it feels like, at least from how I've been seeing it, is like no one's kind of immune to this, right? And that's kind of the sorry state that we're kind of in right now.
I agree. Yeah.
There you go.
Well, there's our 20-minute rant about that.
Yeah.
There we go.
So Lena Khan's doing a great job. Gotcha. Now, boys, I asked this to Luke, and I want to ask this to you, Ains, just for kind of just a question to throw out there as we transition to
I don't know where he's going with this.
What happened now? What
scared.
happens? Yeah, maybe I've asked this too on a last episode. Yeah, 4 hours of sleep. But now, if I'm PlayStation, what's the first thing you do, Ains? First thing,
I think we've seen the first thing they do. Did you see the report today of how they're divesting resources into their gaming division from other divisions within Sony?
That makes me excited.
Oh, I don't know all the details, so if I get any of this wrong, I apologize, because I saw it on a glance while I was making dinner. But something about we already knew that PlayStation was last year when Jim Ryan did his 5-year presentation. We already knew they were investing more into PlayStation first party across the board, right? So that's single player, what they're known for, the single player games, live service, and mobile. VR/mobile is what they had.
Yeah.
But from what I saw today, it looks like Sony as a company, because PlayStation is wildly successful as a division within Sony, they are investing more down the gaming path, upwards of $2 billion, I believe I saw,
2.6
into additional investment into what that is. So I personally, I think that's probably the right move. I think this whole narrative of they need to go out and acquire someone, not necessarily the best thing. Sure, it can work. Sure, they could do that. But there's so much talent in the gaming industry. There are so many developers. There's so many creatives. There's so many people with ideas that it's not always just the best thing to acquire another studio, because that comes with baggage. It can be good. It can be bad. It can be in between. So if Sony is willing to invest in their PlayStation division to a even more healthy degree than they were, and put ABK aside, put anything else aside, let's focus on PlayStation by themselves for a second. As we've already said, wildly successful right now. The PlayStation 5 has been a resounding success basically across the board, and revenue streams are killing it, right? Even Last of Us TV show, they've got TV shows, they're just kind of hitting on all cylinders for the most part. They have some misses like everyone else, but for the most part, they're doing really well. So my point is, I think
Destruction All-Stars. Wasn't that a Xbox game?
They had a few that they missed,
but
over the course.
I think they're that's probably
it was perfect.
Sorry,
I'm sorry.
That's probably their initial answer is, look, we're hitting it with the PS5. We're hitting it with first party. We're hitting it with these other areas that we're doing. We have solid leadership in place and a development structure in place. We need to invest more. We have talked before here around, we know Spider-Man 2 is coming later this year. It's going to be a big hit. You don't need to be a psychic to know that. But we also don't really have a good vision of what's coming down the line for PlayStation first party. We now know more about Xbox than we do PlayStation. So I think that obviously they have plenty of things in the works, I'm sure. And they've said that to a very high degree without specificity. I can't speak right now.
Specificity.
Thank you.
Let's try.
But them investing more in PlayStation directly is probably the answer there. So I'd like to see them. It'd be cool to see them stand up a new studio, right? We just saw, not the segue us yet, because I know we want to talk about. We just saw EA announce a new studio this week, Cliffhanger Games for Black Panther, right? I could see Sony doing the same, announcing another new internal first-party studio that they stand up and hand an IP to, either an IP that we want to see come back or maybe something entirely new.
Yeah, I think one of the quotes was, our focus is on IP.
Yeah,
and
I think that's right.
Yeah, and like I was saying it on the trophy room, it was like my send off is like, this is like fantastic news. Like what PlayStation, this is what I've wanted from PlayStation. And yeah, a lot of the focus is right now on live, games as service games, but I hate the idea that we just throw those games away because it has games as service in it. You know what I mean? Like, there are amazing games that are games as service. Like, let's not just discount them because they're supposed to last for 5+ years. Like
Diablo 4 is a live service game.
Exactly.
Like, it is.
It is.
Halo, so Sea of Thieves, you guys love. I mean, we can name tons of them, but Destiny, Marathon's going to be. I mean, there's plenty of them that are very popular and successful. All the biggest games in the world are live service games.
Yeah.
Call of Duty,
so, like,
Apex,
nothing wrong with that either.
Fortnite. There's nothing wrong with it.
It's a matter of balance, because the industry is pendulum swung so far into live service. Now they're kind of swinging back where you're seeing successful single player games on a smaller scale, think Ghostwire, to a bigger scale, think Jedi Survivor. That's good. We want both.
There's room for both. The industry is big enough to support both. So I agree with you, Joe. I think IP strength, what you do in business, right, typically at a very high level, is play to your strengths, right? PlayStation's strength are their IPs. Play to your strengths. Build out your IP catalog. Give people a reason to continue buying PlayStations and playing on PlayStation.
And guess what? They're really good at doing that. Another thing that I keep echoing is, like, to me, news when PlayStation gets put in a corner, that excites me, because they usually do something pretty cool to get themselves out of that jam. And like, this is not a killing blow by any means, but this is something that's going to stagger them and go, okay, well, now we got to take a shot on ourselves here. And they're going to go out there and do something different. We saw that a lot on the online side of things with like PlayStation Plus, right? Like, PlayStation looked at what Xbox was doing with games with gold or whatever it's called. I forget, Xbox Live, not games with gold, sorry. And they're like, what if we just do something like that? And you created PlayStation Plus, the free games each and every month. And that was such a huge success. It still is. It's something that we all look forward to each and every month. It's something we still praise, and it's something that we still say, it's like, oh yeah, man, Xbox's games of gold it's looking rough. Like, PlayStation, when put in a difficult situation, usually finds their way out and does something unique because of it. So that news really has me just excited, because that's what I want to hear. I don't want to see them buy a Square Enix or a Capcom or a 2K or whatever. Though I do think they're going to, take those defensive strategic investments. I want them to, put rings on the smaller studios that they work really good with. That's it. That's all. Grow that IP, grow that portfolio.
And I'll just say, everyone leave From Software alone. Leave them alone.
Yeah.
Let them cook. They're good.
They're good.
Don't touch Miyazaki. Praise be.
We're such in a cult, Ames.
Best cult I've ever been in.
I know, right? Who needs church when you got the Church of Miyazaki, son?
I do want to invite people in the chat to drop in suggestions for your favorite non-FTC related gaming news from the week.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Because I think that's something that we've had stuff that got buried in this past week, and Ains kind of alluded to the Black Panther game. And I think that's really cool. I mean, EA is launching a single player Black Panther game. It's a third person narrative driven game from Cliffhanger. That's getting buried in the news, but that's really freaking cool.
A lot of talent too in the studio.
Kevin Stevens, the former Monolith guy.
Yeah, exactly. I pulled up the article I wrote so I could figure out what I was saying. No, but I mean, like, I published it, but I forgot the details of what it was. But they have people from Shadow of Mordor series, Halo Infinite, God of War, Call of Duty, and others. Kevin Stevens leading it from Monolith. Monolith, super talented studio.
Yeah.
So the press statement is, we're dedicated to delivering fans a definitive and authentic Black Panther experience, giving them more agency and control over the narrative than they have ever experienced in a story-driven video game. Bold statement. Wakanda is a rich superhero sandbox, and our mission is to develop an epic world for players who love Black Panther, and want to explore the world of Wakanda as much as we do. Cool.
So when I was on the Iron Lords years ago, they asked about a dream game. I think Black Panther is ripe for opportunity because Vibranium brings a lot of cool tech, which means you get cool abilities in video games. Really interested to see kind of what happens with that. I know that it's a meme for you guys, but I did enjoy the Avengers game, and the Black Panther content was really cool. The sneaky thing about that Marvel's Avengers game is that if you play it like a single player third-person action game, you had a good single player third-person action game, and then it was a done experience. It was not a good live service. But playing through the Wakanda missions as Black Panther, seeing that you could see potential for something so much more. So I'm really excited to see just what this brings about. I still struggle because Black Panther is just such a great character. And I still struggle with Chadwick Boseman's loss, or the loss of Chadwick Boseman, I should say. It hurts. He's shown up in several shows I've been watching too. He had a cameo in Castle at one point. Like, we're watching that. But I digress. My point is to take Black Panther beyond and still honor it. I think Christopher Judge did a really good job at making that Black Panther his own. And that was something I didn't think could happen in the wake of Chadwick's passing.
Yeah.
And so, thank you. And so I really am excited by this because I know it can be done. I'd go so far as to say bring Chris Judge back, because he was a great Black Panther.
Yeah.
And that
dude, I'm so excited for this game because honestly, when I take a look at the MCU, not just of like late, but just ever, Black Panther is one of the best movies they've made, and that's how me and so many millions of other people have been introduced to the character. And the magic that Chadwick just gave that character as well. Like, it's just that IP now means so much to so many other people, and it's just so awesome to see. Like, it's so awesome to see, like, Black kids running around with a Black Panther like sweater on. You know what I mean? Like, that's awesome. Man, seeing kids run around with a Black Panther mask, like, dude, that's awesome. So to see now,
it changed the classroom, Joe. It changed the classroom. My students changed as a result of that. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Dude, seeing people give themselves like the Wakanda Forever salute, like, dude, it's awesome. That just grows my heart when I see that. So when I see a game being brought up, there is a lot of kind of responsibility you kind of put on Cliffhanger was it Cliffhanger, right?
Cliffhanger. Yep.
Yeah. To get this game right. And one of the major questions coming out of it too, and I hate to get all woke on you guys, my apologies.
Please no.
I know, but to see so many Black devs on this game and being loud and proud about, I'm on this, I'm working on this. That was one lingering question that I saw from a lot of Black and brown creators. It's like, this is really awesome. I want to see the faces behind this game, right? Because that does matter. And I think it's just in that IP's DNA at this point. So to me, I'm just so excited for this game because it could go anywhere. And like his movement, like how he could traverse through Wakanda, like I want to see how they nail that. The one thing that I also just going, because I know, Ange, you don't give a shit about a superhero.
Nope.
But so I'll transition this to a larger topic, is like the conversation has changed about how we talk about EA. Like,
it has
from 2 years ago, from 5 years ago, 10 years ago, totally different. Now, EA was a company that said single player games are dead. Remember that? Like, what is it? Like 4 years ago? And now look, they are making some stellar first party games or have made some stellar first party games that are making hopefully awesome first or single player games as well. And I want to throw that over to you, Ains. How are you feeling about EA's future? Because now they're the largest, AAA publisher out there.
Yeah, so I agree with you guys about Black Panther real quick. You guys know, even the chat was like, oh God, superhero games and Ains. Yeah, I mean, I don't care about it, but there's, again, I say definitively I'm in the minority in that, right? Like it's clear that if this game is done well, there's a huge audience for it. I hope they do it well. I hope they pay it justice. It'll be cool. Obviously, they can't do anything with Chadwick, but if they pay homage, I would expect them to pay homage to him in some way in that game. So I think there's a big opportunity, and I hope they nail it. So, by the way, to your point, Joe, to kind of segue to EA, they're also making. Let's not forget, Motive is making the Iron Man game.
Yes.
And let's also remember that Immortals of Avium, which we talked about earlier, is an EA Originals. It's being published by Electronic Arts, coming out in 2 weeks. So you're absolutely right. I think a lot of us have begun kind of talking about EA. It's kind of weird to see where they are now. And I guess I have to credit Patrick Wilson as the CEO of EA. He's a younger CEO. I think he's one of the youngest CEOs in the gaming space, who came on 5, 6, 7 years ago. I don't know when he came on, but it's pretty clear that they've made a pretty significant shift. And when you talk about EA nowadays, there's a lot of positivity around it, and I think that's really cool. Obviously, Battlefield 2042 was a miss. It seems like on paper they're doing what they need to do to fix Battlefield long term. Marcus Lato from Disintegration is now the head of the studio working on Battlefield single player content. So we'll see what comes of that. But yeah, I think you're right. I think EA as a publisher is looking really strong. This is another thing under their cap, if you will, that could really be a big hit for them. I mean, imagine if they nail these kind of original IPs like Immortals, bring Battlefield back, but also nail a Black Panther and an Iron Man game. The sky's the limit, really, for the success there.
So many people are saying, Fifth Street Nixie in the chat, Vince Zampella, we trust. He's changed the narrative for EA. He really has.
He's I want to say he's a VP now, right? Like they promoted him again because he's overseeing Battlefield as well now.
Yeah.
But after all this, you know why EA still sucks?
Why?
Where the fuck's Titanfall 3?
Oh, Seth.
Dude, don't hurt me like this, dude.
Come on, man. Look at my Titanfall poster right here.
Yeah, what are we doing? Man. Come on.
It hurts so bad.
It's like, where's the Bloodborne remake? It's like...
Hey, Silkenet's got it. I'll respect EA the day they work on Anthem 2.0.
Yeah,
there you go. That's it. That's why Ains. That's why you should be excited for a superhero game. That Iron Man game might be Anthem. You know what I mean?
No, I really do hope so. It's just I've said this before. The thing for me is that and I know people. This is what people love about it, so I get that. But when you make a superhero game on a known IP, right? That game has to adhere to that IP. And what I like about original IPs is that they can just be whatever the hell they want. There's no template they have to follow. And I think that was cool about Anthem, right? The world of Anthem was unique and the concept was unique. And even though it felt like Iron Man, it didn't have to stick to that. It had its own story. So whatever. But I hope it's great.
Yeah, I hope so as well.
So other non-FTC stories I thought were really cool. Did you guys see that I guess it's tangentially related to the FTC, but Microsoft forecasted Starfield and Indiana Jones to sell 10 million copies on PlayStation 5 and decided to nix that potential revenue in favor of upping the categorical boost to Game Pass and build revenue from sales on console and PC and through Game Pass. I thought that was interesting. I also think they're kidding themselves about Indiana Jones's IP.
I was about to say that. Yeah,
they're real.
I think just looking at the box office for Indy, sadly,
it's not a relevant IP. I mean, everybody gets mad at me for that.
I know.
He's not relevant.
He's 81, man. he's
I love Indy as much as the next, but no one cares. I'm not. I think either. No one cares about Indiana Jones.
No, I think the guys my age care, right? Which I get.
How much longer do you guys have left?
I think the younger generation, I think you guys are right. But I think what's more important, right, is if you can nail the game, right? If you can make an Uncharted quality game while still paying homage. It goes back to what I was just saying about superheroes, funny enough. But if you pay homage to Indiana Jones and kind of nail both aspects of it, then you can capture both audiences. But I think you guys are right, and other people are right in that it just being indie as an IP is not big enough to make it a blockbuster.
No, but again, and I also love Indiana. So, like, fun fact, like, after we're done here, I'm gonna go downstairs. I'm gonna talk about movie times because I want to watch it with my brother on tomorrow. So, like, I love indie, but I also know, like, literally he's past his prime. So I think they're kidding themselves. I think Starfield very realistic that could hit 10 million. Man, that game is gonna hopefully do something really, really big. That said, I want to just transition, if you guys don't mind, real fast over to this. Guys, have you seen this? Have you heard about this? The Twisted Metal show? Have you guys seen it?
That was a real trailer. A good trailer.
Right?
What was that?
It's good.
I mean, look, Halo fooled me because they had some good dope trailers.
Yes.
And then Twisted Metal did the reverse. They're like, yo, these were some pretty damn bad trailers. And then they brought that one out. I was like, okay, Twisted Metal.
All right.
I think I've identified my problem with it. And I hope it's great. I'll be watching it for sure. And Nev Campbell's in it. Perfect.
I know. Respectfully.
But
you guys know
the previous trailer. The previous trailer with
I think I'm sorry, I hate to cut you off. I think Luke has some very important information he has to share with us. Please, Luke.
It's just that one time, like that one VHS copy I had, like there was a section it just stopped playing. It was like you can only rewind and replay so much.
Could you name the section?
Oh yeah.
Son of a.
And that's the movie.
Yeah, it was great. I agree with you. The previous trailer where they're leaning into Sweet Tooth being the goofy maniac. My favorite Twisted Metal was always Twisted Metal Black when they rebooted it on PS2, basically. Still adore that game, still have my original copy, and it was Twisted Metal Black because it was dark. And I've said before I like dark things, and in Twisted Metal Black, Sweet Tooth was just a maniacal serial killer. Like, I mean, he was like hardcore. And I would hope when they were doing the show that they were going to lean into that version of Sweet Tooth, but it looks like they're leaning into the more goofy aspect of Sweet Tooth, which disappoints me, but I'm still hope the show's good.
Yeah. To me, it's like, I know exactly what type of comedy this show's going to like provide. And like, I saw a lot of familiar faces, like some of the cast of like SNL's in it. Saw Jason Mantzoukas in it for a sec. So like, and like Will Arnett's the voice of Sweet Tooth. So I'm like, I know exactly what this type of show is going to be. It's going to be really dumb. It's probably not going to be for most people, but it's going to definitely be for me, for like the vibes I got from it. It's also crazy we live in this world where like Last of Us is now nominated for 24 Emmys.
It's too many.
And the Twisted Metal show, how dare you, Lance? And the Twisted Metal show exists at the same exact time, as well as a Gran Turismo movie in August. Like nothing.
Which actually looks decent too.
No, no, it doesn't, Ames.
It does.
No,
it
looks
does.
bad.
No,
Look, that legitimately, every trailer I see, I'm like, this looks like dog shit.
I think Gran Turismo looks better than Twisted Metal.
No, and funny enough, I was watching Across the Spider-Verse with my brother in the trailer set. I'm like, I'm sitting through the Gran Turismo one for like the umpteenth time, and then my brother, like after the trailer's done, he's like, "Joe, you want to see that together? That looks actually really good." I'm like, and I just like under my breath, I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ.
I mean, at least they're not going to show it during a game showcase. That would be crazy.
That would be nuts. That would be nuts. But yeah, no, I'm surprised how much I enjoyed that trailer. I'm also not upset at the way that they took it because they're like, yeah, this is a pretty silly concept. We can play with it a bit, like the really dark undertone things, like that early 2000s or like late, was it 1990s? Like, like I'm thinking of like Spawn and shit like that. Is very much of its time. So I do, as long as they respect who these characters are, I dig the way that they're going with it right now. But again, am I expecting this to be the biggest thing ever? No. Am I even expecting the show to be great? No. But I'm expecting to have a fun time with it. It's no Ahsoka.
Yeah.
You know?
And it comes out in what, like 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Just remember, we live in a world where The Last of Us and Halo both exist in terms of TV shows. You don't know where you're gonna get.
Two of my favorite IPs. At least one was done well.
Yep. God.
Yep.
I know.
Halo season 2 is wrap filming, so we'll see. We'll see.
No.
I don't have
new writers. It's new writers. We'll see.
I'm sitting this one out. I'll let you guys be the.
It was funny. You know, I mean, everyone knows how big of a Halo fan I am. And Prime Day, they had a deal on the Steelbook version of season 1. And I looked at it and I was like, no, I can't do it. No. And I buy everything, for God's sake. Yeah. So that tells you.
And in a world where we're losing digital content and no way to get it, you're still like, nah.
No, I literally want the Steelbook. That's it. I'm not going to watch the show again.
Why, you don't want to see the Master Chief's ass?
There were like 3 moments in that show that were just so friggin' cool. And I was like, why can't this be the show? Nope.
Yeah. Yes. I don't get it. Anyway, we've ranted about that before. ID at Xbox. I'll just shout this out real quick. ID at Xbox
yes. This is actually, I want to know about this. The FTC thing buried this.
Yeah, it sure did, which is a shame. Yeah, it's a shame. So they did a showcase, partnered with IGN this week to showcase 20 indie games coming to Xbox. Obviously, a lot of them are third party and coming to other platforms as well, but some really cool games in here. So Everspace 2's in there, the interview that Luke just did. There's Sea of Stars in there, which is like an indie darling this year. Looks fantastic. Axiom Verge 2 coming to Xbox. I'm super pumped about the Hellboy game because it is Mike Mignola's original art style from Hellboy from the original Dark Horse comics. Looks fantastic. So you can see more of that. And then one really interesting thing, and I know this could be old me just interested in this, but I think it's a cool concept regardless. A game from the 80s called Karateka, which was a pretty foundational video game way back then. We're talking 40 plus years ago.
Chris Kohler worked on that.
Karateka? Okay. Well, while you're looking that up, what they're doing with it is they're making it a playable documentary where you'll be able to play versions of that original game, different versions of it, while also watching and interacting with a documentary about how it was made, the impact it had on fighting games and games at the time, and some other things. And I was like, why haven't we done that before? Why are there not? And maybe there have been some instances I'm forgetting. But why are there not like playable documentaries of old games? That's an awesome idea to kind of not only educate old fans of the games themselves, but kind of educate people on the impact the games had and how they're made. So I think that's really cool too.
That's cool. That's digital clips that put that together.
Yes.
Yep.
And there's other games in here too. Stray Souls, a horror game. I'm rolling through. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, we know is coming. There's a 4-player couch co-op edition coming to Vampire Survivors, which obviously huge game last year or early this year. I forget now. So anyway, we have the full summary on the site. You can check it out, but it was pretty cool show. And it's a shame that it at least anecdotally on my timeline just got nothing. Didn't seem to really get a lot of.
Yeah. Monolith Requiem of the Ancients. I'm looking at that trailer right now. That looks actually pretty cool. And Straight Souls, I think I've heard something about this. Yeah, it was announced back in 2021. It's using Unreal Engine 5.
It is, and they are paying homage to Silent Hill, and I believe there it is. Yeah, legendary Akira Yamaoka as a special guest composer, who I believe composed Silent Hill.
Yeah. So. Oh wow. Okay. Damn. Axiom Verge 2.
That's the one I'm picking up. That as Axiom Verge 2.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That was on Switch exclusively for a bit, I believe.
It was.
Yeah, I played the heck out of Axiom Verge.
I think it was on PC too, but yeah.
Gotcha. I played that first one. Was a PS4. Did I also play it on my Vita? The first one?
Probably.
Yes, I think so. Because I think I have the Vita hard copy, like a limited edition thing. Yeah, for it, I think.
I loved Axiom Verge. That was Tom Happ that made that game, which Tom Happ has a very sad story, I believe, for how his game development went with the loss of his son. If I'm remembering this right.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm very excited for Axiom Verge 2 because I kind of forgot about that game because it was a limited release, and I need to. I'm gonna dive into that tonight. Actually, that's a good.
Also, shout out to what is this Myth Force?
Yeah.
Holy shit, this looks so awesome. I love this, man. It looks like an old 80s / like early 90s Saturday morning cartoon multiplayer hero shooter. That's what I'm picking up, the vibes.
Yep.
This looks awesome. Oh my god.
Yeah, there's some really cool stuff in here. Like I said, definitely check it out.
Yep.
Oh my god, yeah. It's awesome. That's awesome.
By the way, Fishstring says, and I didn't know this. I don't know if you guys did. He said the Gun CEO, obviously the guy's doing Texas Chainsaw now, is trying to get the rights to The Crow to make a game, but the IP holders wanted too much money and they couldn't get it done.
So those IP holders need to back it off. All right, that Crow struggle. The Crow is a really cool concept, and in the death of Brandon Lee decades ago, it never recovered. It had some sci-fi movies and a show on the Sci-Fi Channel and stuff, but The Crow's a cool concept.
Yeah. Is Nev Campbell also in it? Listen, I just discovered Nev Campbell for seemingly the first time because I just got into the Scream franchise. And let me tell you guys something, respectfully. I don't understand like the love for Courtney Cox. I understand the love for Nev Campbell. And funny enough, Nev Campbell in Scream, I think either 2 or 3, she has a what's that?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. In Scream 2 or 3, she looks like my best friend, like hairstyle and all. And I told her, and I said to her while we're watching, I go, Amy, if you were Nev Campbell is the more attractive version of you. So if you maybe took care of yourself a little bit, you could look like her. She really appreciated that compliment.
No, Nev Campbell, if I recall correctly, so she became a huge hit because of Scream and how pretty she was. I think she's from Canada, and I think what happened essentially is that she basically didn't want to be that kind of sex symbol in Hollywood type thing, and she just left the industry. She disappeared and said, "Screw all you guys." And then she only got back into movies pretty recently. Someone can double check me on this, but there's a reason why she was big in like the late 90s, early 2000s for a brief period and then disappeared. And then she's only been more recently in things. Yeah.
And real talk, I love the Scream franchise. Like I love them all. I think they're all great.
Scream's fun. Yeah,
they're a fun time.
The original one in the theater was something for sure.
Yeah. And now Melissa, Melissa Beretta is the lead star, and also Respectfully.
And what's her name's in it too? Wednesday, the girl who plays Wednesday.
Jenna Ortega. Yeah. But I'm more of a Melissa Beretta type of guy. That's all I gotta say. Respectfully.
We're all over the place tonight.
I know. 4 hours of sleep.
Pretty. We're just shooting from the hip for fun. Shredder's Revenge is getting DLC. I'm excited for that.
Really?
I love that. I love that Ninja Turtle game. That's a fun one. And I was telling you guys prior to recording, the funny thing is I had them on XEP before Shredder's Revenge came out, and they were like, "We're not going to do DLC," and people ran with that and made it a story. And here we are. I was like,
"Oh wow,
you're passing off false information, Luke."
I didn't say it. The director did, or something.
You what.
As always.
Here we go.
Yeah,
here we go again.
Here we go. I did get a press email today, by the way, of Silent Hill Ascension. Speaking of Silent Hill, which is the episodic kind of community one they're doing. Remember, they're doing 3 Silent Hill games. Yeah. So got a press email about it, talking about new assets and coverage coming. So it looks like that game may be closer than we think. We're going to be putting up an article tomorrow about it. But I'm excited about that one. I'm really excited to see Silent Hill return. More than anything, I want to see the Silent Hill 2 remake from Bloober. I don't care if it's exclusive to PS5 or whatever. Wherever it's going to be, I'm going to play it. I hope it's good.
Yeah.
Can I make a confession to you, Ains? I've already told Joe this.
Yeah.
To you and to all the amazing people in our chat and whatnot. I've gone down a rabbit hole and I've gotten really deep into AEW Fight Forever. No, I am in Sonic.
Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah. Here, stick with me here because this is a journey. So I was like on a whim. I'm like, I'll play AEW Fight Forever. I haven't played a wrestling game in 20 years or whatnot. I started playing this and it's just like the old good Nintendo 64 games, which hit right when I was like in middle school to care about wrestling. This was right before HDTV, so you couldn't quite tell if it was real, and people were cussing and going crazy. And as a middle schooler without HDTV and replays and social media, you were never sure if it was real. And so they built 2 or 3 really good games on something called the Aki engine, a lot of fame or whatnot. And they created this new AEW game with consultation for the people who made the Aki engine and whatnot. Dude, I don't really watch wrestling. I'm not really like into it. But I've been playing this game like ridiculously, living out childhood dreams. It is so much fun. It's the dumbest thing. I'm having a blast. I'm living my best life in this game, doing the dumbest things, but it's really cool. It's fun.
I haven't played that many games this past week, and it kind of bums me out. Well, not really. I'm kind of like the happiest I've ever been, but well, it's kind of a mix. I'll tell you guys, because here's what I've been playing: the game of like getting fit, getting in shape, and I didn't know how much. Yeah, because I made some pretty drastic changes overnight, right? And I've stuck to them as well. Like I've been fasting like every day, like 16/8, like fasting and all that jazz. I wasn't prepared for the shock to the system that it's been, along with like starting the new position at my job as well. My body is in full disarray. Like I have so much more energy now, so much more energy. But at the same exact time, like, you know, my gut biome changed. So you can only imagine what that was looking like for the last few days. And then at the same exact time, like my sleep has been just all off. So like I've been hinting at with, you know, the whole show is like over the last 4 days, I've been lucky if I hit 5 hours of sleep. It's just, I just hope that changes pretty soon. But like for me, I haven't actually had the time to play games, and I'm not feeling guilty about it, to be honest.
That's good.
Yeah. Because I'm like, what do I have to play? Final Fantasy 16 and just Diablo.
I think that's awesome, though. I think you know, we've talked a lot offline about that kind of stuff too. So yeah, when you make drastic cuts like that, and it's a big change from what you do, it will be a shock to the system. Things are going to be disrupted for a while. You will start to even that out. The only thing I would say to you, I mean, we could talk more offline, but the only thing I would say to you is like, as the shock kind of lessens, right, the speed of change will lessen as well.
Yeah.
So it'll take more discipline to stick with it and to continue seeing results than it will in the first few weeks, if you will. So I'm happy for you, man. I love to hear it. I've seen your updates with your walks and your fitness and your eating and everything. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
I hope you fail.
Thanks, man. You know who really loves it the most? Luke's
We keep it balanced here. We don't want to be biased.
Yeah, she says I have so much more energy.
Yeah. And
she
says
doesn't handle it
very well to begin with. So
it's true. It's true. She said my endurance has been like it's never been better. You know.
That's cool. Kill yourself.
What's that?
Real quick on the for anyone who watches this or you guys, have you guys seen? You were speaking about wrestling games. Have you seen that WrestleQuest game? Remember that like made waves last year, and that's coming soon. So the guys, the PR for them said that game's like coming playable very, very soon, like up for I think reviews and stuff, right? Because it comes out a few months.
There's a demo on the ID at Xbox Fest right now.
The fest they're having right now. Okay.
I did not know that. That's exciting. That's cool.
Yeah.
Because that's an era that people like.
Yeah, I saw the PR rep post on Threads about it, saying reach out if you're a creator and want to be involved in WrestleQuest. So I'll find that and maybe send it to you guys if you want to be involved. I'll have to talk to my guys too to see if there's anyone that wants to cover it. But that game looks really cool. If you're not familiar with what we're talking about, it's basically take like the old 16-bit era of wrestling games, Super Nintendo era, and it takes that and it's like an RPG based wrestler like that. It looks really, really fun and really cool. So
yeah, this looks pretty. Yeah,
I've gone down a rabbit hole, and I do that, right? Like I get in, like I played all the Sonic games, I played all the Darksiders games. Like I go down rabbit holes. Joe's laughing at me, but that's really what I do. And I've been learning about the business of wrestling video games and wrestling in general and like the eras. I've been like learning about it. It's a really fascinating, and I heard a really interesting comparison. Like somebody was like, why do you watch it? It's fake. And the counter argument was like, well, why do you watch TV if you know the superhero is going to win? Why do you watch the soap opera if you know they're going to get together or whatnot? And it was like, that's an interesting way to look at like the journey that's playing out there. But in the business side of gaming, I think it's neat to see people try to capture stuff and kind of counterpunch WWE 2K, that live service 2K model. Like, we need an NBA competitor to compete with NBA. You need something to battle WWE 2K. FIFA EA no longer has the FIFA license. That's really interesting as well. Like sports games and live service games and whatnot, if there's no competition, very rarely do they excel. They're the only example of a sports game thriving with no competition that I know of is MLB The Show. And that's about it.
Right?
Madden, I think, is doing it. Madden does well, but like I don't know if it's not as egregious as like the 2K games.
Okay, fair enough.
But it's like in the middle. It's my understanding. It's anecdotal. I mean, anybody in chat can correct me, but I think it's interesting to watch the business side of that stuff. So I hope that's not like too in the weeds.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
No,
well, boys, I think that's it. Yeah,
that's all I got, man.
Yeah,
my body is starting to say, you know what, Joe? Maybe it is time for you to finally rest.
Time to get some sleep, buddy.
That's actually one of the biggest parts when you make a change like that. Make sure you're getting enough sleep. I know you just said it's hard. Take something if you have to help you sleep.
Well, it's not like I'll knock out, but then like my body's just like, you're gonna wake up at 6 a.m. That's all.
That happens too.
Yeah, it's like you're just gonna go. You're just gonna get up, and then I wake up and I have all the energy. And I'm like, this sucks.
Makes sense. Well, can I point people to something I just put out for XEP?
Sure.
As we close out,
if you have to.
This morning I pushed live an interview with the CEO and founder of Rockfish Games. They make Everspace 2, and it was really fascinating conversation because I learned a lot about how games are funded, which was interesting. How early access funded this team, as did the Game Pass boost that allowed them to expand the game. They got an extra 9 to 12 months of development time of the game proper as a result of Game Pass and early access, which was cool. But not only that, and Ains, this might appeal to you, very different than Everspace 1. This is a starfighter shooter, but it's a looter. It's like Diablo. Okay. You're a starfighter, and you're playing Diablo. So it's linear single-player missions, but there's a loot loop where you, just like in Diablo, you get better loot, you upgrade things, you seek out better weapons, you have a build, like you customize your starfighter with near infinite combinations of weapon types and how they interact with each other to bring down capital ships and other starships and starfighters. But you basically create a build, and you consistently tweak and augment your build of a starfighter. So across this 30 player golden path, or 30-hour golden path, or 50-hour, play it all, or 100-hour play it all, it's a looter while being a single player starfighter game. This is Everspace 2.
Oh, Everspace 2. Yeah, I told you I didn't get to listen this morning.
Really
I wonder how deep it is, because that sounds really cool, but I'm also very picky with loot games. But it sounds really cool in concept.
Worth listening to, because I learned some cool stuff, which is pretty darn neat. And hey, Windows Central just put out an article on it 2 minutes ago.
Awesome. Hey, look at that.
That's cool. But yeah, I just thought that was a neat thing, and so that's up now on XEP's channel. And then last week I interviewed the founder of Hive Social, which is neat to compete with Threads and Twitter and stuff. So those were 2 fun interviews. Yeah, awesome. That's what I wanted to plug, because I think I'm really proud of them both. I think they're pretty neat.
Is there anything you'd like to show before we get on out of here?
No, I don't think so, really. Well, I guess last week, not this past Sunday, but week before, we had Tyler Owens from Respawn on Bitcast.
Such a great interview, by the way.
He was awesome, and he's really, really cool. He, he is a prior Halo Pro player, MLG level player on Halo 3 and Halo Reach. He worked at 343 on Halo 5 as part of the Pro Insights team. He worked on Rocket Arena. Speaking of EA, funny enough, a little multiplayer game they did, and of course now he works on Apex Legends, one of the biggest games in the world. So really cool insight on live service games, delivery, expectations of gamers, why things are not as easy as people make them out to be. And just an awesome dude in general, who shares a lot of insight on Twitter, by the way. So definitely check him out. He goes by Hatred, which was his Halo 3 pro name, Heytred. Check him out. You can check that episode out, and stay tuned because him and I are talking about doing more in the future together as well. So
dope.
We'll do another show in the future. What that looks like, not sure yet, but we talked about just shooting the shit about Halo and competitive shooters and all that stuff. So looking forward to that. Other than that, I should have a video. I haven't gotten to it, but I'm trying to get a video out on the Maxwell headset. This is the Odyssey Maxwells.
Oh.
These are like the high end. They can be PS5 and PC or Xbox and PC, but they are like the audiophile gaming headset, and they are fantastic. So I want to do a review to talk about those. And then other than that, I know, just check out the site. We've got working on a couple reviews right now. I know that we are going to be working on Remnant 2 for next week, which Elu is doing.
Nice.
So that should be a good one as well.
Awesome.
Very
awesome.
Cool. Elo killed me at Street Fighter, and I'll never forgive him. Dude, it wasn't
He's
even
good,
close.
man. I told you.
So
I
good.
told you he's good. And he's super pumped about. He's going to cover Mortal Kombat 1 as well. So
nice.
Ooh-wee. Well, listen, guys, you can find me over at Mr. Badbit on Twitter or at Mr._Badbit on Threads because someone stole my name, and I will never forget them, and I will hunt them down.
By the way, Ames is taken on Threads by like a 22-year-old girl.
Yeah. Well,
that's true.
I mean, you have a shocking resemblance. Look at that hair. You know,
hey, you haven't seen me with a wig and freshly shaved. I mean, you know.
Ooh-wee. And you can find this week's trophy room where I am joined by Baron J over at Level 1 Gaming, and then also Jam Packed Sam as well.
Cool.
We had a awesome conversation about the whole FTC situation over there. Oh my God. Helldivers 2, that was a thing that exists. When is it dropping? How much is it going to drop? All that good stuff. It looks good too, yeah. So make sure you check out that conversation because I really do think we did something special. And then next week, I'm taking a podcast hiatus, staycation, and Kyle's going to be hosting for the first time in like 2 years. So
really, I'll have to listen to that one. It'll probably be good for a change.
Yeah. you guys have jokes. Yeah.
Aaron and Sam did a good job. They were great.
I know, yeah. I love Bitcast, especially when Travis and Hope fight for 40 minutes and Dan just awkwardly stands there in the corner, you know? Yeah. See that? I got to say mean shit too, Ains. No, but definitely check out this week's show. It was a ton of fun. And yeah, with that said, keep casting that co-op. Look at my watch. It's red. Keep casting that co-op. Why do I keep doing this outro? Please make it stop.